It might be a controversial thing to say, but reality is fiction. This is what I've learned from my own life. Reality is fiction. We think that what we see out there is real, but it's fiction. In the Hindu texts and in the Bibles, they say reality is maya, it's illusion. And the word illusion can come from illusion as in magic. It's been magicked up, which it is. It's a magic trick. We can also say that illusion means that it doesn't actually exist, which is the same as well. Deepak Chopra says that when we turn our back on material things, they become quantum soup. They appear because we observe them, and they appear because of the perception of our observance. Yeah, that might seem fantastical, but just basic science will tell you that everything is, 99.9% space. In reality, we should just be able to put our hand through a wall because it's nearly all space. But reality is fiction. It's what you see as reality is determined by your perceptions, by your cognitions, by your beliefs, by your conditioning. If your conditioning and your beliefs are murderous, then you'll create a murderous reality. If they are kind, you'll create a kind reality. Certainly that's what you'll see. When I had very powerful perceptions about danger and about the world being dangerous, I created violence, I created violent environments. With a strong belief, a solid, unquestioned belief, and a very powerful, uncontrolled imagination, I created a very dangerous fiction. I'd created a fiction that people were killed in. When I changed those beliefs and challenged those perceptions and those cognitions, and I cleaned that karma, I started to create a different kind of reality. I created a reality that was about making films and making plays and writing books and mentoring and talking and telling stories. Our beliefs and our imagination are it's so exciting, it's so powerful. I've got a church I go to in Piccadilly when I'm mentoring people. It's called St. James. Is it St. James? Yes, St. James. Should I tell you this? Yes, I'll tell you this. I'll tell you it because it's important. I go into this church and I meditate. It could be any church. It could be a mosque. It could be a temple. I sometimes go into a Hindu temple. Sometimes I go into Sikh temples. You could go into a mosque. It could be anything. Any holy place. Go into a park. Go and sit in a park. Somewhere quiet. Somewhere where we have divinity around us, silence around us. So I go into this church. I mentor people in this church. I was working with one guy who's a writer. He wants to tell stories, but he, like most people, and like myself when I was younger, he got caught up too much in, and I still get caught up like this sometimes, but he got caught up too much in what's in this for me. Where are the accolades? Where's the money? Where's the recognition? And I was trying to say to him that your duty as a storyteller is to tell stories, to tell beautiful stories, to tell stories with truth, not to make money and not to look for accolades. Not that those things aren't important. Like I said to you before, my BAFTA opens doors. It's magic. It opens doors. It gets me into places. It enables me to earn money. That is what Muhammad would call righteous wealth. It enables me to earn money that supports my religion. My religion is an alignment to love, alignment to service. Religion means to align. So I align to love. I align to service, and the righteous wealth that I earn enables me to do that. It enables me to put this out for free, for instance. It enables me to put hundreds of hours worth of this out for free. It enables me to put hundreds of hours worth of written articles out for free. It enables me to put my work into 21 languages. It enables me to build an infrastructure to serve. So it's not that there's anything wrong with money, it's just that as a storyteller I don't make that my priority. My priority is to tell a truthful story. And it's a difficult, tricky balance because people have so many, people are so sensitive, people are so hysterical about money. that they have wild and varying opinions on something that doesn't actually really exist. But my priority is to tell stories. When I go into this church in Piccadilly, I take this guy in and I say, look, your job is to tell a powerful, truthful story. That's difficult because it takes a lot of courage to tell the truth, because it means telling the truth about you, about your faults. If you read my play Fragile, you'll see a powerful piece of drama because it's so fucking viscerally honest about abuse, about self-abuse, about sexual self-abuse, about shame, about rage, about violence, but also about beauty and about love and about empathy. It shudders the audience when they watch it. It's a beautiful piece of drama because it's honest. But that's because I've got the courage to tell the truth. So I take this guy in, and on the left-hand side of the church, it's filled with down and outs. It's filled with kids that are living on the street, and the church lets them sleep there at night because it's a great church and it's doing a great job because it knows it's there to serve people. So these souls are lying on benches asleep. Some of them are dying, some of them will be dead soon, and they're all someone's brother, someone's uncle, someone's cousin, someone's son. So I just say to this guy, these kids on these benches are here because they heard the wrong story, and because they told themselves the wrong story once they'd heard it. Maybe they were born with the wrong story and they weren't able to break that story down into its constituent parts and rebuild it like Lego into a better story, into a better fiction. Maybe that's what's happened. But these people are here because they heard the wrong story, and then subvocally they told themselves the wrong story again and again and again, and they created emotions and actions around those stories, and those emotions and actions created karma that layered the story again and again and again until it became their truth, until eventually they are literally sleeping in a church. One of the guys in there, he has this, when he snores, when I'm in there meditating, I can hear him snoring. It's a death knell, and it's so emotional. I remember talking to the guy in there once, the pastor, the priest, and I said, this is the first time we used to first go in there. I said, do these guys sleep in here every day? And he goes, yeah. He said, does it bother you? And I just said, no. I said, that's my brother over there. That's my brother sleeping over there. And I felt really emotional because my brother was an alcoholic. It wouldn't have been unusual to see my brother in a place like that. My brother was never a down and out, but he was an alcoholic and he died from that abuse. So I was just in awe that they were letting these kids sleep there. But the main point is they were there because of a story, because a story that's been layered again and again and again. I've talked with kids in prisons, and I've talked with damaged kids. I've talked with people working at the NHS. I've talked with business people, and I recognise that people are where they are because of the stories they've heard. Storytelling is an intrinsic part of our genetic makeup. It's who we are. We are built up of stories. Our whole reality is built up by our beliefs and our perceptions and our cognitions and our karmas. They're stories. They're stories we're born with. They're stories we're told, and we're told them by people we love. We're told them in a state of in a hypnagogic state, in a state of hypnosis. We don't question the stories. We just go out and create a reality based on those stories, because this infinite light comes through our perceptions, the film of our perceptions, and creates a reality. So storytelling is really, really important. What we tell our children is important. What we tell our friends is important. How we live is our story. Our story is our prayer. Our movement through life is prayer. What we do is prayer. Everything we do is about connecting to something, aligning to something. So for me, my dharma has always been to tell stories, and to tell truthful stories. Well, certainly stories that are truthful for where I am now. Hopefully when I speak to you in a year's time, this truth will have improved and refined and finessed a little bit more. But we are a species of storytellers. Our reality is fiction. But is it a fiction that we like? Is it a fiction that satisfies us? Is it a fiction that's bringing us joy or love? Is it a fiction where we can find elixir? So for me, when I'm working with people and they're saying, what do I need to do in the world? Where do I need to be? Go and tell your story. What's your story? What is it that makes you... What is it that makes you... What is it that connects you to bliss? What is it that makes you feel like you're alive, where time disappears? What is your story? And have you got the courage to tell your story? Have you got the courage to tell your story from a true place? In the I Ching it says that music is a direct link to God, because music is storytelling, and theatre and film and books came through song. They're just versions of standing around the fireplace telling stories and passing on the elixir of our experience. And the important thing about that is that we tell a true story, that we tell it from a place of pure exchange, where there is no agenda. There is just a necessity to pass on truth, a necessity to pass on love. And whatever these podcasts provoke is okay. If it provokes inspiration, that's really good. And if it provokes any kind of negative emotion, then I'm your teacher. Fucking send me a check. I don't mean that literally, but anybody that triggers any kind of emotion is teaching you something about you. Everything is scripture, and reality is a fiction. But is it a fiction of your liking? If it's not a fiction of your liking, then we can start chipping away at the stories that aren't true. First of all, we've got to recognise that the stories aren't true. We've got to have the courage to tell ourselves the story's not true. Then we've got to have the courage to pull that old story out by the root and get rid of it. And then we've got to have the courage to plant a new story, a better story, a more expansive, inspirational, aspirational story. Plant it in the substratum of the mind. There's nothing wrong with the mind. The mind is how we create reality, but the mind is just like a big field of fertile mud. What you put in it is what you're going to get out. If you plant dandelions in the substratum, you'll get dandelions out. You won't plant dandelions and get out apples. Most people are walking around all the time talking about the impossibility of things and then wondering why nothing happens. They talk about how terrible the world is and then wonder why the world is terrible. They talk about how violent and how unfair the world is and then wonder why the world is so violent and unfair. They talk about the limitations and then wonder why they live in a limited reality. We have to challenge the old stories. It's software. It's outdated software. Reality is a fiction. Is it a fiction of your liking? If it isn't, you can change it. Castaneda said that reality is consciousness. It said reality is perception, and perception can be changed. My understanding is that consciousness, obviously everything is consciousness, is just a vantage point. So consciousness is just standing back and taking a wider, more expansive look at what's around us. The potential is infinite. The impossible is possible. All we need to do, as Milarepa did, as St. Paul did, as Nelson Mandela did, is change the old programs, challenge the old programs, clean the old programs, put in new programs, put in better programs, make the mind the servant of the soul. So the ego, the sentinel ego, the ego that's in charge, the voice that speaks for us, is subservient to the soul, the authentic self, and the mind is subservient to the authentic voice, to the sentinel voice, and the sensual and physical body is servant to the mind. It works in this alignment. It works in this, the Christians call it freedom, but freedom under authority. We are free under the authority of intuition. So this is very powerful time to be alive, a very powerful time for you to change your fiction. The information's out there. The information on its own isn't enough though. You've got to act on the information. That's why the Bhagavad Gita, if you read the Bhagavad Gita, it's about the war with perception. It's about the challenge of someone going in and changing their perception. And it's enough to bring princes and prophets to their knees. It's difficult, but it's worth it. It's worthwhile.